Hey, welcome. In this world that's always telling us to do more, get more, be more, it's so easy to feel like real happiness is always just around the next corner. So today, we're going to dig into a single piece of ancient wisdom that offers a totally different way to find peace right here, right now.
So, does this sound familiar? That feeling like you're on a hamster wheel, running as hard as you can, but the finish line for happiness just keeps getting pushed further and further away? It's just exhausting, right? But here's a thought. Is this just our problem, a modern thing, or something much older?
What if the answer isn't about running faster at all? What if it's about just stepping off the treadmill entirely? We're going to unpack this incredible little verse from an ancient text that hits this exact feeling, and it actually gives us a roadmap out.
Okay, so here it is. This is the verse that's going to be our guide for the next few minutes. I know, it sounds a little intense at first, calling you a fool, but trust me, every single line here is packed with wisdom. Let's just take it apart line by line.
All right, first up, the unwinnable race. See, the verse kicks off by basically diagnosing the problem. It explains why this constant chase for more is a game you just can't win.
Wow, that first line, it doesn't pull any punches, does it? Oh, fool? I mean, that's pretty direct. But here's the thing, it's not actually an insult. It's meant to be a wake-up call, to kind of shake you out of a specific kind of delusion. But what kind of fool are we talking about here?
So the original Sanskrit word here is muda. And this is where it gets really interesting. See, it doesn't mean you're stupid or unintelligent. It means you're deluded. You're caught up in this big illusion that real lasting happiness comes from stuff, from things outside of yourself. So you can think of it less like an insult and more like a doctor's diagnosis, a really compassionate one, that says, hey, you're trapped in a way of thinking, and it's making you suffer.
And that really brings it back to us, right? Just take a second and think about your own day. Seriously, how much of your brain power, your energy is spent chasing things you don't have, instead of just appreciating what you do have? This verse is challenging us to look that right in the eye. Okay, section 2. Shifting your focus inward. So the verse points out the problem, and then it pivots. It gives us the solution. And the key thing here, the work isn't out there in the world. It's all inside.
And here's the core instruction. This is the how-to part. It tells us to create a mind that is devoid of passions. Now that just means letting go of that constant nagging thirst for more. And the idea is to replace that craving with thoughts of the reality, basically connecting with something deeper, something more real and stable within you.
Yeah, this is the whole point, right here. The real work isn't about acquisition, it's about purification. It's not about adding more things to your life, it's about cleaning out all the mental junk, all that constant desire, so you can finally find some peace and quiet inside.
So, what does that actually look like in real life? I mean, for you, what could you do? Maybe it's 5 minutes of mindfulness, maybe it's journaling, or just taking a walk without your phone to think about what really matters to you, away from all the noise. The point is, you have to actively build a new mental muscle.
All right, next up, section 3, the art of contentment. This brings up a huge question, though. If you're not supposed to be constantly chasing more, what are you supposed to do? Just nothing? Well, no. This next part is all about redefining how we think about work and what we get from it.
This next line is absolutely crucial. Notice it doesn't say stop working or give up on everything. Not at all. It totally gets that we work, we do things, and we get rewarded for it. The whole secret is in how we feel about those rewards. And this really breaks it down for us. Look, this is not a call to be lazy. It's actually the opposite. It validates good, honest work. The big shift here is getting out of that trap of constantly comparing yourself to others and instead finding real satisfaction in what you've accomplished through your own efforts. It's about loving what your journey has brought you. And this brings us to another one of those really powerful gut check questions. Think about it. When you get something you've worked for, do you feel that genuine, warm sense of contentment? Or does your brain immediately jump to what someone else has and suddenly your win feels smaller?
And that brings us to our final section, becoming your mind's master. This is the big finale of the verse, and honestly, it might be the most profound part. It's the ultimate goal of this whole practice, true freedom.
I absolutely love this line. Entertain your mind, play with your mind instead of your mind playing with you. What a powerful image, right? It's saying you can get to a place where you are in the driver's seat, a place where you can find joy and entertainment from what's already inside you, instead of being constantly yanked around by your mind's anxieties and cravings and fears.
And this, right here, really lays out the two options, the two paths. When your mind is the master, it just runs wild. And where does that lead? Anxiety, agitation, fear, frustration. But when you learn to make your mind your servant, your friend, your tool, what do you get? Calmness, peace, joy, comfort. The choice is literally yours.
So let's put it all together. What's the takeaway? This ancient verse gives us a clear 4-step path. 1. Stop buying into the illusion that happiness is something you buy or achieve out there. 2. Do the inner work. Cultivate that sense of peace and wisdom inside. 3. Practice being content with what you've earned through your own honest work. And 4, the big one, master your mind. Don't let it be your master.
And why go through all this trouble? What's the payoff? Because it's not just about feeling less stressed. The source tells us the prize for doing this inner work is, well, it's huge. It's a deep, unshakable peace. It's clarity. It's this natural kindness and love that just flows out of you, and it has absolutely nothing to do with your bank account or your job title.
So in the end, this ancient wisdom really boils down to one simple choice. Your mind can be your absolute worst enemy or your very best friend. And so the question it leaves us with is simple, but it could change everything. In your life, right now, who's in charge?